Hey, welcome back, folks, to Max Nave Horsemanship again today. Today we're going to talk about herd hierarchy. It's a topic that, well, it's a fairly simple one, but, well, if you think like most people, it's a bit confusing. Now, some of you are already going to understand this stuff, but chances are that most of you probably are not going to understand this concept whatsoever because it's foreign to the human brain. We don't think that way, but I want to explain some things. Well, before I get into that, maybe I'm going to talk about the weather. Yeah, weather. Everybody wants to hear about the weather. Yeah, right. Well, anyhow, I'll talk about it just for a minute anyhow, just because I am in Canada. A lot of people think Canada is a real cold place, and, well, in the wintertime it can be. It can be pretty darn cold up here. I think we had wind chills to minus 53 last winter. But right now, today, the forecast is for well, in Fahrenheit, it would be, I think, 95 degrees, 36 Celsius, something like that. I don't know, pretty warm. And what a lot of people don't realize is that, well, I mean, for some people, that's not horribly hot. Here, it's a pretty warm day, but what you got to realize is even though it's not horribly warm here a lot of the time, that sun, man. And this is where I want to briefly talk about having an indoor arena, because a lot of people automatically associate an indoor arena with winter use because it gets you out of the elements in the winter or when it's raining and that sort of thing. Let me tell you, even in the summertime, it's nice to get out of that heat because on a warm day in the sun, it can be very warm with the sun shining down on you. And just being in the shade, way nicer. It's actually, I didn't realize how much I was going to like this thing in the summertime, but in the summertime, it's not only nice to be in the shade, a little breeze going through, because you can open the doors at both ends. And not only that, but odd thing is, around here, we've got lots of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are pretty bad around here sometimes. And inside the arena, where it's just a tad cooler, for some reason they just don't like that, and it's almost mosquito-free. It's very rare you ever see a mosquito in the arena, so here's just something for you to consider if you're planning on moving to a different boarding facility of some kind. You might want to consider one that has an indoor arena because it's pretty darn useful. And, like I said, it's not just for winter riding. It can be used year-round. I've been using this one. That's why I don't have much of a tan, because I don't spend a lot of time out in the sun getting cooked. But anyhow, back to our topic at hand for the day is herd hierarchy. And before I explain how a herd works, I'm going to explain what most people are used to. Because in human society, hierarchy, whether it's in a business, in the military, the police, at school, just about anywhere, it's a straight line from top to bottom. Say if at a business you got the guy in the mailroom at the bottom, and up at the top of the ladder you got the CEO of the company. And the guy down here, he never tells the guy up here what to do. That wouldn't end well. He'd probably lose his job. Same with the military. You'd probably get court-martialed. Well, whatever. In virtually every single aspect of the human society, hierarchy is a straight line. Not so in the horse world. And that's where we find it very confusing because we don't see things that way. Our brain doesn't work that way. We're so conditioned to the human society where everything is a straight line when it comes to hierarchy. In a horse world, well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. Because although there is, in a herd, whether it's domestic or wild, whether you get mares, geldings, whatever, it doesn't really matter. There's almost always one horse that is the top dog. That's the high horse, they refer to as. And no other horse will bother that horse. He does what he pleases, goes where he wants, and the other horses will get out of his way. But other than that one, it can get really interesting, and it's something that humans have a hard time wrapping their head around because it's so different from what we're used to. And the first time I observed it years ago, I thought I might have to have myself checked in because I thought I was losing my marbles when I saw it because, well, let me explain. There was a big round bale with a feeder, and there was, well, we'll say 3 horses around it. Horse A, Horse B, and Horse C. I don't remember which ones they were. I don't know what gender. It doesn't matter. But Horse A decided to move over a bit, pushed on Horse B. Horse B moved over. So I thought, okay, he's higher than, that one's higher than that one. Okay. Then that one moved over and pushed on Horse C, and Horse C moved over. So I thought, oh, this is pretty clear. A, B, C, this is the hierarchy. And then all of a sudden Horse C moved over and pushed on Horse A, and Horse A moved over. And I'm like, wait, whoa, that was at the bottom, he pushed on the one at the top. So I thought, man, this just doesn't make sense. I thought I had it figured out, you know. Well, then I come across some information on the topic, and I've observed it a few times since, and even once just recently with some horses that I know. And I know the horses well. I know that they're standing in the herd, that sort of thing, more or less. It's not exact, but I'll get to that. And it was interesting that the horses that were making other horses move were not the ones you expected it all the time. And even with my own horses, I got 4 horses of my own. Now I got Molly, Jean, Clint, and Little Girl. And, well, Little Girl and Molly, they get along pretty good. They've been together the longest. Molly's definitely top dog. I think it's Jean, then Clint, then Little Girl, I think. But see, this is where it gets interesting, because there was one day they were going out the door. Now, I didn't see exactly what triggered the whole thing, but all of a sudden Molly turned around and bit Little Girl, which that in itself didn't surprise me a whole lot. But Little Girl turned around and bit her back, and that was the end of it. She never did it again. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. The lowest horse bit the highest horse and got away with it. And the highest horse never retaliated. So, is that exactly the hierarchy? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Or is there another thing going on there that we don't understand? Because that's one of the things that I've often, come across. I've seen it in action. I've read articles on the subject where guys have talked about it. And herd hierarchy is not linear. It's not a straight top to bottom thing. There is one horse at the top, but other than that, there can be all kinds of strange things going on where you'll see a horse that you think is a fairly low horse, all of a sudden pushing on a higher horse, and that horse will get out of its way. So just because that horse is most of the time up here in the herd, it doesn't mean that the one down here can't tell him what's for. Well, that's kind of how it works. It's like I said, with horses, not a straight line. Well, the way it's referred to is circular, and well, that's kind of how it works. It's circular. It's not a straight line. And like I said, for humans, we find that very confusing, and this stuff is not super important. Okay, the only thing that is important, I've mentioned many times in other videos, is that you have to be higher than the horse you're working with. That's the only thing that matters. Is that one step of hierarchy is you and your horse that you're working with. That's the only place the hierarchy is super important. That must be in place, but that's pretty much the only time. The rest of it is, well, it's not real important, but I thought I'd share this with you because it is very interesting, and if you don't realize that this is how it works in a herd, you'll get real confused and frustrated, and you won't understand what's going on when you see the herd dynamics and different horses moving around and that sort of thing. I see all the ones that were back behind me are all gone now. There's a whole bunch more over there. There's some more over there. Well, anyhow, it doesn't matter. You don't need to see horses, do you? Well, maybe you do. I guess I'm kind of boring, and they're better looking than I am. But anyhow, so there you go. That's how herd hierarchy works. It's not a straight line. So if you see something weird going on, don't be surprised. It might be exactly the way things are. It's not a straight line in a herd. It's circular. There you go. Have a good day.